Mabuhay Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. How to connect with your Filipina to make a lasting bond. I'm going to make a couple videos on this. This is the first one. There was a time I wondered if I would ever find a wife that's well documented here. I had assumed it would be an American, so I thought making a connection her would not be difficult at all. However, I married a woman from the Philippines, which I think makes it a little more challenging to connect or relate to her. I'll tell you why. Please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea for tips and ideas on how a foreigner can have a good relationship with a Filipina. If something works, I'll let you know, and if it doesn't, I'll let you know that too. Go ahead and leave a comment, get notifications for upcoming videos. Remember to click add, the word add, to complete that process, or else it won't work apparently. I will start with this. Reach out and touch someone. We'll talk about that for the most part here in this video. And I will link an article in the description box about connection by someone called Dr. Stoop. He brings up how touch between two people releases a chemical called oxytocin in the brains of each person. Personally, I like touching my wife, rubbing her arms, stroking her cheeks, caressing her. I lived so long without being able to do that. The main reason I do it is because I have strong feelings for her, and I want her to know that. She likes it and needs to be caressed. She's a woman. I also do it because it gives me satisfaction knowing I am communicating something very clear, even without the use of words. There will be more than usual that you don't know about the Filipina in your life because of the differences that you have, the lack of things in common. It is also much more important to communicate with someone so far away as being in person is concerned, which would allow for better analysis of how she is responding to you. It's just harder when they're thousands of miles away and you're communicating by video cam, which is great. Some people use texting a lot, but I think you got to move it to video if you want to get that thing progressing. Nevertheless, something that always communicates something powerful, even if you know little about each other, is touch. Harsh, abusive touch may never be able to be recovered from. A woman who has been harmed physically can forgive someone, and she should, who hurt her this way. We all should forgive, even peacefully release him from the relationship, but it would be extremely difficult for her to connect or relate to him any longer. The wounds could be too deep. On the other hand, receiving a healthy dose of affectionate touch conveys safety, love, caring, interest, importance, and value. Even if the man is not good with words, he doesn't even need a vocabulary to communicate very powerfully with his Filipina. If that man is a lot older than she is, he can bridge the gap to some extent simply by being adept at touching her in non-sexual, affirming, supportive ways. It isn't hard to do and feels good. Probably the oxytocin the article mentions. Honestly, I was concerned enough as it was with how I was going to connect to anyone after being out of the game for so long on the sidelines. Touch is so important, and although it is nonverbal, gets a strong message across that the Filipina is special to you. Another good thing about touch is it will often result in affection in return. This might be my favorite feature in being married to my Filipina wife. Even if we didn't speak the same language, touch is a universal language, like music. It forms a connection if done regularly. If you want a successful relationship with a Filipina, learn how to connect with her through touch. Sleeping head to head with my wife, holding hands in the dark, is the most perfect way to fall asleep. I just have to be careful not to have my head on her beautiful long black hair when she rolls over. That's the easiest way and a very effective way to connect or relate to your Filipina. The article also talks about the 3 behavioral components to an emotional connection, and he lists being available, being responsive, and being affirmative. I highly recommend reading that. I highly recommend reading that article. I will link in my marriage. This is what I keep in mind. Real quick here, let's talk about availability. This is why I'm so adamant about not reverting back to living as if you're single after you get married. Some activities will naturally need to be diminished or even eliminated when you're married. Considering you're interested in marrying a woman from thousands of miles away from a different culture, being available is even more important than usual. Not only because you are now part of a team, but also because it is absolutely critical that she know that the foreigner she has married will be with her every step of the way to help make for a good transition. If you believe the Filipina is a prize, then you won't want her to feel like there are other things in your life more important than she is, with the exception of God, of course. And even then, he tells husbands to die for their wives, to give up their lives for them. That means to be available to meet her needs at any cost. If I don't make her available to myself, she will wonder why I bothered marrying her. If the foreigner is retired and brings his Filipino wife to his country, availability should not be a problem. It is much more challenging when he is still working to earn a living and his wife is not able to work yet, resulting in a large gap of time alone most days, where she is pretty much to herself. With this being the case, she especially needs him to be physically available to her as much as possible. We went through that when my wife immigrated to America about 6 years ago. And I will link a video about dealing with boredom that can occur after she is here. Being in each other's presence is good, but there is a little more to it than that. I will say more in another video about how to connect with your Filipina to make a lasting bond right here on Love Beyond the Sea.